This Volvo 242 GT has been a constant project for the last decade or so. My wife likes to say this car is my longest relationship, and like many project cars, it's only fair to admit it's a bit of an emotionally abusive one. I've swapped, rebuilt, replaced, and iteratively tinkered with this engine what now feels like countless times, and alas, here we are again. The most recent problem occurred when a $10 oil pressure sender failed, rapidly emptying the engine of all oil, wreaking havoc on the bearings and turbo. In testing, after replacing the destroyed turbo and escaped oil, the engine ran great. However, after warm-up, the oil pressure would drop dangerously low, indicating that the bearings were gone. That leads me to today. Engine removed, disassembled, and ready to start fresh again. After the engine lost oil pressure, the bearings were severely damaged. The cylinder walls also had some scoring, but I already cleaned that up with a ball hone, and I'm going to call that good enough. This won't be a perfect rebuild, but it'll get the car back on the road, and it was running great before. I spend entirely too much time working on this car, and really just want to get some more seat time. That leads me to today. Engine removed, disassembled, and ready to start fresh again. This is a 2.3-liter 5-cylinder turbo engine, originally sourced from a front-wheel drive Volvo V70, then turned 90 degrees to be fitted into my rear-wheel drive Volvo 242. I'm using forged H-beam rods and Wiseco pistons, slightly higher lift camshafts from the NA variant of the engine, a larger Garrett turbo, and a slew of various one-off parts, Frankensteined and fabricated to fit everything into place. Each section of the engine assembly is sealed using a thin coating of anaerobic sealant instead of typical gaskets. This works great, but it can be tedious to remove. I'm sure someone has a better method, but patience and a razor blade at a low angle have always worked out well enough for me. So why did I use this engine? Well, as a Volvo engine, it's true to the body, and I like that. More importantly though, as a 5-cylinder, it's just a little weird, which is fitting for the quirky, eccentric spirit of the Volvo 240. It does also make some pretty good noises. Because I honed the cylinder walls, it's important to carefully clean the engine and ensure there's no residue remaining. Another task that takes a lot of time and patience to keep cleaning until the rag no longer gets any dirt on it after you wipe down the cylinder wall. Soapy water works great here, but I'm using a combination of degreaser and water, followed by a WD-40. With the block clean, I'll next test fit the crank and main bearings to check clearance against Volvo's specifications. These main bearings don't tend to exhibit much wear, but given the history of oil starvation in this engine, it's a good idea to check. For the rods, I'm using genuine Volvo bearings, but for the main bearings, I'm using King Racing's tri-metal bearing with a dark coating that they refer to as PMAX Black. That's why these look a little bit darker than the average bearing. After placing the new main bearings into the block, I drop in the crank. Then it's on to measuring clearance. I'm doing this the cheap and easy way using plastic gauge, which I cut to size, set a piece on top of each crank journal, torque down the girdle, and then remove it again to compare the width of this compressed plastic gauge to the chart printed on the sleeve that it's packaged in. It's not a perfect measurement, but it'll show me if I'm in the ballpark or not, and for this engine, that'll do. Instead of bearing caps, the engine uses a two-piece block assembly with a girdle that secures the crank and main bearings into place. The girdle is secured by 29 bolts in 5 phases of torque. The first phase is 20 Newton meters on the 12 M10 bolts. After that, we increase the torque on those bolts to 45 Newton meters. Then we turn to the 12 M8 bolts and torque them to 25 Newton meters. After that, we go to the M7 bolts and torque them to 17 Newton meters. Finally, we apply 90-degree angle torque to those 12 M10 bolts. After we finish torquing the girdle, we can go ahead and take it right back off again. Remove all the bolts in reverse order, and we'll usually need to use a dead blow to get that girdle off of the pins. Because these M10 bolts have an angle torque specification, I checked to see if any threads were stretched. There's some debate on whether these are truly torque to yield or just torque to angle bolts, but the one way to truly tell is to actually see, are they stretched? And these were, so I ordered a new set to replace them for our final assembly. In this case, it's good that I checked, because this compressed plastic gauge is indicating that I'm far outside of Volvo's specifications for main bearing clearance. Volvo specifications recommend that the main bearing clearance be between 0.025 and 0.045 millimeters. The plastic gauge indicated that the actual clearance is closer to 0.08 millimeters instead of 0.04 on the high end. That's well beyond what I'm comfortable with, even though this is a quick and dirty rebuild. This is a major disappointment, and it throws an unexpected wrench in the works. I can't proceed with the engine as it sits, or I risk problems later on, and I don't have a great solution to this. I could order undersized bearings, but no one sells undersized main bearings in a size that would work without machining the crank. The other option would be to source another crankshaft and hope that it'll have less wear than this one, but there are fewer of these engines available than there were a few years ago, and to be honest, I'm not about rolling around in the mud pulling engines from junkyards anymore. I happily left that in my 20s. Instead, I'm going to choose option 3, get pissed off, walk away, and get distracted by another project while I consider what to do next. My floor jack stopped working recently while assembling the 4-post lift in the garage. You can see when you pump the handle it raises, but it immediately falls back down again as soon as you release the handle. Not ideal. First I tried topping off the hydraulic oil and rebleeding it. That didn't do anything. At this point, it seemed that there was a bad seal in the hydraulic assembly. After doing some research, I found that the full seal kit is no longer available for this jack, but you can buy an entire replacement for the hydraulic assembly, So I ordered that and had it on my doorstep in a couple days. Now, it's simply a matter of removing the old and installing the new.
I'm a simple man, don't wanna complicate ya. I'm a simple man, don't wanna complicate ya.
The old is out, time to bring in the new.
I'm a simple man, don't wanna complicate ya. I'm a simple man, don't wanna complicate ya.
And of course, no project is complete without cleaning your workspace. After doing some research, I decided I would take a gamble on a used crank from eBay. I was hoping I could put a bow on this episode with the complete start to finish rebuild of the engine, but unfortunately, it's not really how these projects go. I'm not going to try to hide that. The good news is that I now have the crank on hand, which means I can get back to rebuilding this engine. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss the next one. There's a lot going on. I'm working on finishing up the engine rebuild. I'm also going to be converting the car from Mega Squirt to Max ECU, and I'm building a new fabrication table that I'm pretty excited about. So long.